Naya's fingers trembled on the rooftop rail, her life hanging by a thread she no longer cared to hold. But just as she leaned forward, a strong hand seized her wrist. She turned and froze. A stranger with haunted eyes, a billionaire she'd never met, whispered, "Please, don't go." Before we dive in, take a moment to subscribe to the channel so you never miss these powerful stories. Your support means everything. It helps me bring you more emotional, inspiring tales every single day.
The world didn't end for Nia Thompson in one moment. It ended in pieces, slow, sharp, invisible, until she was too tired to pick them up anymore. That morning, she sat alone on her thin mattress, knees drawn to her chest, staring at the eviction notice on her cracked wall. The paper flapped softly each time the wind squeezed through the broken window. It was almost mocking her. She didn't cry. She hadn't cried in days. Tears felt like a luxury now. Her mother, Grace, had always said she was strong, but strength meant nothing when life kept hitting the same wound until it refused to heal. Nia pulled her jacket around her shoulders, the faded fabric stiff from years of use. She slipped her phone into her pocket, dead since yesterday, and stepped outside. The hallway of the worn-down apartment complex smelled of dust and old memories. She walked slowly, like someone deciding with each step whether to keep going at all. No one stopped her. No one noticed her. She was good at being invisible. On the other side of the city, Adrian Cole stared at his own reflection in the back of his limousine. Sharp features, tired eyes, the controlled expression of a man who had learned long ago that grief was best hidden behind silence. The driver's voice broke through his thoughts. "Sir, are you sure you don't want to go straight to the meeting?" "No," Adrian murmured. "Drive to the bridge." The driver hesitated for a second. He always did when Adrian requested that place, but nodded and turned the wheel. Adrian didn't visit the bridge often. Not anymore. But today marked the anniversary. The day everything in cracked. The day he failed someone he loved. He loosened his tie, inhaling deeply as the city lights blurred outside the tinted windows. He was rich, respected, feared in boardrooms, but emotionally, he was a man stitched together with regret. Nia walked without direction, passing the places she once found comforting, the old bakery that used to give her leftover bread, the small bookstore where she spent hours escaping into fictional worlds, the bus stop where she and her mother used to wait for rides together. Now everything felt like a shadow of a life she no longer belonged to. Her feet eventually led her to the only place where her thoughts didn't echo painfully, the rooftop of the abandoned office building. She climbed the rusted stairs, step by hesitant step, the metal groaning beneath her weight. When she pushed the rooftop door open, the cold wind swallowed her. Her breath shook as she stepped toward the edge. This wasn't a decision made in a moment of weakness, she told herself. It was relief, a quiet place where the noise would finally stop, a place where she wouldn't be a burden anymore. She closed her eyes. "Mom, I'm sorry," she whispered. Adrian stepped out of the limousine when it stopped near the bridge. He adjusted his coat, eyes drifting to the water below, dark and restless. He hated anniversaries. He walked toward the railing, each footstep heavy. He should have been at his meeting. He should have been closing another deal. But today, like every year on this day, he couldn't breathe without visiting the place where he once made a promise he failed to keep. His phone buzzed. He ignored it. Silence wrapped around him until something in the corner of his vision caught his attention. A figure, too still, too close to the danger he knew too well. But she wasn't on the bridge. She was higher, up on the rooftop overlooking the water. And she was leaning forward. His heart dropped. "Stop the car!" He yelled instinctively, though he wasn't even inside it anymore. He ran. Fast. Faster than he'd moved in years. The building wasn't far, just across the street, but to Adrian, every second was a countdown. He burst through the lobby, ignoring the startled security guard. "Sir, you can't go up there." Adrian didn't answer. He sprinted to the stairs, climbing them two at a time, chest burning, breath ragged. Memories collided painfully in his mind. Not again. Not again. Not again. He reached the rooftop door and shoved it open just in time to see Naya's foot slide forward on the concrete edge. Naya. Her name wasn't spoken out loud, he didn't even know it yet, but something in the universe whispered it. Her body pitched forward slightly. Adrian lunged. His hand grabbed her wrist. Hard. Desperate. Naya gasped, the sound so soft, so broken, it nearly crushed him. Her eyes snapped open. They weren't empty. They were drowning. He pulled her backward with trembling strength, her body crashing against his chest. For a moment, they were both frozen, both shaking, both breathless. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Let me go." "No." His voice cracked. "I won't." She looked up at him, really looked at him for the first time. And Adrian's entire soul went silent. This wasn't a stranger. This was someone fate had dragged into his path at the exact moment he was reliving the worst memory of his life, and he wasn't going to lose her too. Naya swallowed hard, her voice trembling. "Why do you care?" Adrian's answer came out before he could think. "Because I know what it looks like when someone gives up, and I can't watch it happen again." Her eyes flickered with confusion. "Again?" she whispered. Adrian looked away, grief tightening his jaw. "You don't want that story right now," he said quietly. "But I'm not letting you fall." A tear slipped down Naya's cheek, carried by the wind. She wasn't sure who was holding on tighter, Adrian or her. Would you have trusted Adrian if you were Naya, or would you have pulled away? Tell me in the comments. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Naya's breath trembled against the cold night air. Adrian's grip on her wrist remained firm, not painful, but unshakable, like a man holding on for both of their lives. Wine swept around them, pulling at her hair, brushing the edges of her jacket, whispering the things she didn't dare say. "Please," she whispered, her voice thinned by exhaustion. "I don't want to do this anymore, and I won't let you," Adrian replied softly. The firmness in his voice wasn't control, it was desperation. She could hear it, feel it. It wrapped around her like a trembling shield. Naya turned away, her eyes burning. "You don't even know me," she breathed. Adrian hesitated, then released her wrist slowly, moving his hand instead to her forearm, grounding her. "You're right," he said quietly. "I don't know you, but I know this moment, and I know what it means." His eyes drifted toward the drop behind her, dark, endless, hungry. "I've stood where you're standing," he murmured, voice cracking just slightly. "Not on a rooftop, but emotionally. I know what it's like when breathing feels like a burden." Naya's lips parted. She hadn't expected that. "You don't look like someone who understands," she whispered. The corner of his mouth twitched tan. It wasn't a smile. It was something close to pain. "That's the problem," he said. "People think money fixes everything, but money can't fix grief, or guilt, or loneliness." He stepped back, giving her space, placing his hands in his coat pockets, as if to assure her she wasn't trapped. "I didn't come here to stop you," he said. "I came here because I couldn't stay away from a memory." Naya frowned softly. "What memory?" But he shook his head. Later, the silence stretched between them, heavy but strangely gentle. Naya wrapped her arms around herself, as if trying to hold her body together. "You shouldn't have stopped me," she whispered. "You don't know what I've lost." Adrian's gaze softened. "Then, tell me," he said. His voice wasn't demanding, it was invitation. A door cracked open. Naya's throat tightened. Tears burned behind her eyes, but refused to fall. "What if you judge me?" she whispered. "I won't." "What if you walk away?" "I won't." "What if I'm not worth saving?" His jaw clenched. Something dark flickered across his eyes, anger, but not at her. "Don't say that," he said fiercely. "You're standing here, hurting. Yes, broken, maybe, but breathing. That's worth something." Her breath caught. Adrian took a slow step forward, careful, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. Let me walk you away from the edge, he said. Naya looked down at her shaking hands. I don't know if I can. Then lean on me, he whispered. I'll walk the first step for you. She didn't know why, maybe because she was too tired to fight, but she let him take her hand. One step, then another, then another. Together, they moved away from the rooftop's edge until they stood in the middle of the concrete space, the city lights stretching out beneath them like distant stars. Naya's legs buckled. Adrian immediately caught her arm. Easy, he murmured. I'm fine, she said weakly. You're not, he replied. But you will be. She sank onto the cold floor, hugging her knees. Adrian lowered himself beside her, not touching, but close enough that she felt his presence like a warm barrier against the night. He draped his coat around her shoulders without asking. She shivered, not from cold, but from the strange tenderness of the gesture. Why were you here? She asked softly. It was the only question that made sense. Adrian inhaled deeply, exhaling with the weight of someone carrying years of buried pain. Because this place reminds me of someone I couldn't save, he said. His voice dropped to a whisper. Someone I loved. Someone who stood too close to an edge. Naya's heart tightened. What happened? She whispered. Adrian's eyes lowered. It's not a story I tell. She studied him quietly. You asked me to trust you, she said. Let me trust you back. He looked at her, then really looked, and something in his expression changed. A wall cracked. My younger sister, he said finally. She struggled for years, silently. I was too busy building my empire to see how broken she was becoming. His breath trembled. One night, she disappeared. We found her too late. The world seemed to go still. Naya clapped a hand over her mouth. Oh my God, Adrian, he shook his head. You don't have to say anything. I'm so sorry, she whispered. He gave a hollow smile. I've spent years wishing anyone had reached her before she stepped off that ledge. I would give everything I have if I could rewrite that moment. His voice cracked. So when I saw you standing there tonight, I couldn't let history repeat itself. Naya wiped her cheek with trembling fingers. Why would you care about me? She whispered. Because you remind me of a life worth saving. Naya's tears finally fell. She covered her face with both hands, shoulders shaking. Adrian didn't touch her, didn't rush her. He simply sat beside her, letting her break safely. After minutes of silent sobbing, she whispered, I don't know what to do now. Adrian rose slowly, extending a hand toward her. You come down from this rooftop, he said, and you don't do it alone. Her gaze flickered between his hand and his eyes, those dark, steady, haunted eyes that had pulled her back from the edge. Finally fragile. Hesitant, she placed her hand in his, and he lifted her gently to her feet. If you were in Naya's place, would you have taken Adrian's hand or refused help? Leave your thoughts below. The elevator ride down the abandoned building was silent except for the soft hum of old machinery. Naya kept her eyes fixed on the floor, still wrapped in Adrian's coat, drowning in its warmth and unfamiliar safety. Adrian stood beside her, hands in his pockets, posture controlled and composed. But his eyes, when she dared glance up, held turbulence. When the elevator reached the ground floor, she stepped out quickly, as if distance might bring her clarity. Adrian followed at a respectful pace, watching the way her shoulders stiffened with each step. Naya, he called gently. She stopped. Slowly, she turned. What now? She asked, voice brittle. You shouldn't be alone tonight. Her jaw tightened. That's not your choice. I'm not trying to make choices for you, he said calmly. I'm trying to keep you alive. The bluntness hit her like a slap. Her eyes filled with a mix of anger and shame. Don't talk to me like I'm helpless. I'm not, Adrian replied. But you are hurting, and pretending you're fine won't make the pain disappear. She wrapped her arms tighter around herself. You think I don't know that? Adrian took one step closer but stopped when her throat bobbed in fear. Tell me what you need, he said softly. What she needed was impossible. Her old life back. Her mother healthy. Her sense of worth not. Shattered. A version of herself that didn't end up on a rooftop tonight. She shook her head. I don't need anything from you. Adrian sighed. A long, quiet breath. I know you think accepting help makes you weak. It does. No, he said. It makes you human. Naya looked away, blinking hard. Please, just let me go. His voice dropped. To what? The question sliced through her, exposing a truth she didn't want to face. She turned away from him and walked toward the street. He let her take 3 steps before he spoke again. Naya, she stopped. If you walk away, I won't chase you, he said. But I will worry. Her breath trembled. Don't, she whispered. You don't owe me anything. Adrian hesitated, then nodded slowly. You're right, he said. I don't owe you anything. She felt a painful pinch in her chest, but before she could swallow it down, he continued. But I care. Her heart stuttered. You don't know me. I don't need a history lesson to recognize someone who's on the brink, he said. And I'm not turning my back on that. She closed her eyes, exhaling shakily. I can't go to your house, she whispered. I can't be some project you feel guilty about. Adrian stiffened. You're not a project. How do I know that? He stepped closer, voice soft but firm. Because I don't save people to feel better about myself. I save people because I didn't save the one who mattered most. Her eyes softened for a moment, but then fear clawed up her throat. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Okay, he said quietly. Silence swept between them again, heavy and fragile. Then Adrian reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small business card. He held it out to her. Naya, he said, I'm not trying to force you into anything, but take this. If you need a safe place, if you need food, a bed, silence, or even a stranger to sit in the same room with you, call me. Naya stared at the card like it was a lifeline she didn't deserve. I can't. Promise I'll call, she said. I'm not asking you to. She swallowed. I'll feel like a burden. Adrian's expression softened. You pulled me from my own memories tonight, he said. You didn't burden me. You saved me from reliving something I can't change. She looked up sharply. What do you mean? He offered a faint, sad smile. If I hadn't been there tonight, I would have spent the rest of my life wondering if I could have stopped you. So whether you believe it or not, you saved me too. Naya inhaled sharply, emotion swelling painfully in her chest. I didn't save anyone. You did, he whispered, just by letting me help. Her lips trembled. She looked down at the card again. I don't belong in your world. Then let me meet you in yours. The words hung in the night air like a fragile offering. Naya shook her head, overwhelmed. I need time, she whispered. Adrian nodded once. I can give you that. A gust of wind rushed between them, making her shiver. Here, he said, reaching forward gently. Keep the coat. It's cold. I'll return it, she murmured. You don't have to. She clutched the coat tighter around her shoulders. For the first time tonight, Naya didn't look broken, just lost. And Adrian didn't look like a billionaire, just a man trying desperately to keep someone from slipping through the cracks. She stepped backward, slowly, carefully. Thank you, she whispered. Adrian's voice softened. You're welcome. She turned and walked away into the night, small, fragile, but alive. And Adrian stood watching her until she disappeared around the corner, the ache in his chest refusing to ease. He exhaled. I hope you call, he whispered to the empty street. For both of us. Do you think Naya should call Adrian for help? Or stay away until she's ready? Tell me below. Naya didn't sleep that night. She lay curled on her thin mattress, staring at the ceiling as the city hummed faintly outside her window. Adrian's coat lay draped across her body, heavy with a warmth she had never known from anyone, much less a stranger. His words echoed over and over. Let me meet you in your world. You saved me too. She didn't know what scared her more, the idea that he meant it, or the possibility that he didn't. Her phone remained dead on the floor beside her, a quiet symbol of the life drowning her. But even if she charged it, would she call him? She didn't know. She didn't know anything anymore. At 6 a.m., sharp banging rattled her door. Naya startled awake, heart leaping. Eviction? Already? She scrambled to her feet. Naya Thompson? A gruff voice called Dot. She opened the door just an inch. A heavy-set older man stood there, Mr. Porter, the building's security chief. He frowned at her exhausted face. You have a visitor. Naya blinked. A visitor? Downstairs, he said. Well-dressed man, expensive looking, said it's urgent. Her breath caught. Adrian. She didn't need to ask. Porter stepped back, giving her space to leave. The moment she reached the lobby, she froze. Adrian wasn't inside. He was outside, leaning against a sleek black car, hands in his pockets, eyes fixed on the ground. He looked like a man carrying worlds of weight. He looked up slowly when he felt her stare. Their eyes locked, and the world stopped just for a moment. Naya stepped outside, gripping her jacket close. You came, she whispered. Adrian exhaled, relief crossing his features. You weren't answering, and he hesitated. I wanted to make sure you survived the night. Something in her chest twisted painfully. I'm fine, she murmured. You're not, he said gently, but you're alive. That's enough. She swallowed hard. Why are you really here? Adrian hesitated, then spoke with quiet sincerity. Because I couldn't shake the feeling that something would go wrong if I didn't come. She looked down. I told you I needed time, and I'm giving it to you, he said. But time doesn't mean isolation. Silence pooled between them. Naya tucked hair behind her ear, avoiding his gaze. What do you want from me? Nothing, he said softly. Just let me buy you breakfast. You don't have to talk. You don't have to explain. Just sit with me for a while. Her chest tightened. She didn't want food. She wanted peace. Sleep. Life she didn't have to escape. But Adrian's eyes held a kind of sincerity she had never seen in anyone, especially Nada. Billionaire, please, he said quietly. Let me keep you company for 1 hour. Naya exhaled shakily. Okay, she whispered. The word slipped out before she could take it back. The car ride was quiet, filled with soft music and the faint scent of cedar from Adrian's coat. Naya kept glancing at him, at his clenched jaw, the crease between his brows, the exhaustion behind his eyes. He wasn't just helping her. He was fighting something too. What do you do? She asked carefully. He didn't look at her. Business. That's vague. He smiled faintly, intentionally. She raised an eyebrow. Are you dangerous? He turned to her then, expression unreadable. Emotionally? Yes, he said quietly. In any other way? No. Her heart skipped a beat. He looked away again. I run coal enterprises, he added softly. Construction, tech, real estate, and a foundation. A foundation? For mental health and crisis counseling. She stiffened. That makes sense, she whispered. Adrian looked at her again. Why? Because you knew exactly what to say last night. His eyes softened. I said what I wished someone had said to my sister. Naya swallowed. Her chest ached, not with pity, but with a deep, painful understanding. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know, he murmured. Me too. They arrived at a quiet cafe overlooking the river, glass walls reflecting the morning sun. Adrian guided her inside, never touching, never rushing. His restraint made her feel both safe and unnerved. They sat in a corner booth. The waitress approached. The usual, Mr. Cole. Naya blinked. He had a usual? Yes, he said, then glanced at Naya. And for her? I'm not hungry, she blurted. Adrian nodded. Not pushing. Just tea then, when the waitress left. Naya twisted her hands together. You bring people here often? Never, he said simply. She looked up. What? I've never brought anyone here. His voice was gentle. I wanted somewhere quiet, somewhere safe, somewhere you could breathe. Naya inhaled slowly, overwhelmed. Adrian, she whispered. I don't know how to be around someone like you. You're human, he said. Just like you. She looked away. No, you're powerful, successful. Your pain looks different. Adrian leaned forward slightly. Pain doesn't change because Of the bank balance, he murmured. It just hides better. Naya's eyes burned again. Why are you being so kind to me? She whispered. He hesitated, then spoke the truth. Because when I saw you on that edge, it felt like losing her all over again. His voice dropped, raw. I don't want to lose you too. Her breath shattered. He didn't know her, but somehow, she wasn't a stranger to him anymore. As tea arrived, Naya held the warm cup between both hands, grounding herself. Adrian watched her quietly. You don't have to stay, she said. I know, but you're here anyway. He nodded. I'm here anyway. Her voice cracked. Why? Adrian exhaled, the truth finally slipping through. Because something in me broke when I grabbed your hand last night, and something else healed when you didn't pull away. Naya stared at him, heart pounding. She didn't understand this man, but she wasn't afraid of him, and maybe that was the beginning of something unexpected. Something she wasn't ready for and yet couldn't walk away from. Do you think Adrian is helping Naya out of genuine care, or is he driven by guilt? Share your thoughts below. The tea in Naya's hands grew cold long before she realized she hadn't taken a sip. She kept turning the cup softly, her fingers brushing its edges the way someone touches something fragile, afraid it might slip and break. Adrian watched her quietly, not with impatience, but with the steady attentiveness of a man who had learned how to hold silence without letting it become pressure. Finally, Naya exhaled. You want to know why I was on that rooftop? Adrian didn't move. I want to know whatever you want to tell me. Her throat tightened, but she pushed through the ache. My mother got sick last year. She began slowly. It started with headaches, then fainting spells. Then she couldn't walk some days. Adrian's expression softened. She's still alive? Yes, she's alive. Naya paused, but barely. She's at a care home now. I visit when I can. But her medical bills. Her voice cracked. They swallowed everything. Adrian didn't interrupt. I work 2 jobs, she continued. 3, sometimes. Cleaning offices, serving tables, sewing clothes at night. I tried everything. Her face crumpled. But it wasn't enough. And rent kept going up. And the landlord stopped being patient. She looked down at her hands, fists clenched tight. Last month, he told me that if I didn't pay in full by the end of this week, he would throw me out. Adrian frowned. How much? Shame flushed her cheeks. It doesn't matter. I don't want your money. He nodded slowly. Okay. Her shoulders relaxed a little. Naya continued, voice shaking. I thought I could handle it all. But then Mom got worse. The doctor said she needed a new treatment. I used every last thing I had. She swallowed. And when I checked my account yesterday morning, I had $7 left. Total. Adrian's jaw tightened with controlled anger, not at her, but at life, at the system, at the cruelty of circumstances. And you didn't ask anyone for help? He asked gently. Naya laughed weakly. Who? My father left before I was born. No siblings, no relatives who speak to us anymore. My friends drifted away years ago when everything got bad. And Mom, she doesn't even remember half the time. Her voice softened to a whisper. I didn't want her to see me fall apart. A tear slipped down her cheek. I didn't want her to see what failure looks like. Adrian reached across the table slowly and placed a napkin near her hand, not touching her, not pushing, just offering. You're not a failure, he said softly. You don't know that. I do, he insisted. Because someone failing doesn't fight as hard as you have. Someone failing doesn't hold a dying mother together with $7 in her account. Someone failing doesn't survive long enough to even reach a rooftop. Her eyes filled with tears again. You're stronger than you think, Naya. His voice thinned with emotion. And stronger than I ever was. She blinked in surprise. You? But you're a mess, he said with a faint, humorless smile. You think grief respects status? Money? Last name? He shook his head. It doesn't care about any of that. She hesitated. Is this about your sister again? His expression shifted, pain rising like a shadow. Yes, he murmured. Silence stretched a moment. Then Naya asked softly, what happened to her? Really? Adrian looked out through the glass wall of the cafe, eyes fixed on the river, as if the water carried the memory he wished he could forget. She was 18, he said quietly. Her name was Avery. She was bright, soft, too soft. And his jaw clenched. I was too busy chasing success, too obsessed with being the man everyone respected. Naya softened. You were young too. Not young enough, he whispered. She needed someone to listen, someone to notice the warning signs, someone to catch the way she kept isolating herself, someone to ask her why she was crying in the middle of the night. He exhaled shakily. And I wasn't there. Naya's heart ached. Double quotes. One night, Adrian continued, voice rough, she left a note, apologizing, telling me she didn't want to be a burden. His voice cracked violently. I was supposed to protect her, and I didn't. Tears slipped down Naya's cheeks before she could stop them. Adrian, she whispered. He looked down at the table. I've carried that guilt for years. So when I saw you, standing where she stood emotionally, even if not physically, he swallowed hard. I couldn't let another life slip away. Not again. Naya reached across the table slowly, hesitantly, and this time she touched his hand. He froze. Her fingers trembled. I'm sorry you lost her, she said softly. I can't imagine how much that hurt. But you're wrong about one thing. He looked up, eyes glistening. You didn't fail her. Adrian's breath hitched. She made a choice, Naya whispered. A painful one. One you couldn't have changed unless you knew everything happening inside her head. And you didn't. He clenched his jaw. It doesn't make it easier. No, she agreed. It doesn't. But blaming yourself forever won't bring her back. His shoulders stiffened like her words touched the one wound he kept buried deeper than anything else. Why, it continued softly. You're helping me now. Isn't that honoring her? Isn't that what she would have wanted? Adrian's eyes closed for a moment. A tear escaped despite his effort to hide it. He wiped it away quickly, looking away, embarrassed. You don't have to hide from me, Naya whispered. When he finally looked back at her, something in his gaze shifted, a crack in his armor, a softness he tried to suppress, a recognition he didn't expect. You remind me, he whispered, voice barely audible, that I'm still human. Naya's heart squeezed. And you remind me, she said gently, that maybe I'm not alone. They sat there, the weight of two tragedies pressed between them, not separating them, but slowly knitting them together. For the first time since last night, the silence between them wasn't heavy. It was healing. They left the cafe slowly, walking side by side along the riverside path. The early sunlight glimmered off the water, scattering gold across the surface. For the first time since meeting, neither of them felt pressure to fill the silence. It wasn't the suffocating silence of last night. It was soft. Breathable. Safe. Adrian walked with his hands clasped behind his back, shoulders relaxed, a rare sight for a man who lived with tension carved into his bones. Naya walked with her arms wrapped around her stomach, not from fear, but from the unfamiliar sensation of comfort. Halfway down the path, her steps slowed. Adrian noticed instantly. You okay? He asked softly. She hesitated, then nodded. Just thinking about? Naya glanced at him shyly. About how strange this is. Adrian's lips curved faintly. Strange good or strange bad? I'm not sure yet. He chuckled under his breath, deep, warm, surprising. She turned to him, eyebrows lifting. That's the first time I've heard you laugh. He looked a little embarrassed. I don't laugh much. Why not? I suppose life stopped giving me reasons to, he said quietly. Her eyes softened. Well, that can change. He looked at her, then really looked, eyes warm, eyes open. Maybe it already is, he murmured. Heat flushed her cheeks. She looked away, heart pacing in her chest like something newly awakened. The wind tugged at her hair. Adrian reached out instinctively, then stopped halfway, unsure if he was allowed. Naya noticed the hesitation and surprised herself by stepping closer. You can, she whispered. His fingers brushed gently along her hairline, tucking a stray curl behind her ear. The touch was light, almost reverent. Naya's breath caught. but she didn't pull away. Neither did he. They continued walking until they reached a quiet bench by the water. Adrian gestured for her to sit, and she did. He sat beside her, leaving a respectful distance close enough she could feel his warmth, far enough he wouldn't overwhelm her. For several minutes, they watched the gentle ripples on the river. Then Adrian spoke. "Do you still feel like last night could happen again?" She looked down at her hands. "I don't know," she whispered honestly. "It feels like the pain is still here, but the hopelessness feels a little less." He nodded slowly. "That's something." She glanced at him. "Why? Does it scare you?" "Terrifies me," he answered quietly. She blinked. "Why?" "Because you deserve a chance to live," he said softly. "And the thought of you giving up before you see your own worth, that scares me more than I expected it to." Her eyes filled with emotion. "Nobody talks about me like that," she whispered. "Then they've been blind," Adrian said. Her breath trembled. "You barely know me." He turned fully toward her. "Now, then let me." Her heart stuttered. Instead of answering, she said quietly, "What do you want to know?" "Everything," he murmured. "But we can start small." She hesitated, then nodded. He asked simple things first. Her favorite food, her favorite season, whether she liked dogs or cats, her favorite childhood memory. She answered with small smiles, relieved by the lightness of the questions. Then Naya asked him something. "Why do you walk alone everywhere?" Adrian exhaled. "Because people expect Adrian Cole, the billionaire. But no one has ever cared about Adrian, the man." She looked at him gently. "Do you want people to care?" He hesitated. "Yes," he said. "But I stopped expecting it a long time ago." Her heart squeezed. "You don't seem impossible to care about," she murmured. His eyes softened. "You don't know how much that means." Their gazes held for a long moment, long enough that the air warmed between them, long enough for something fragile and real to spark. Naya looked away first, cheeks warm. "Adrian." She hesitated. "Why do you look at me like that?" "Like what?" "Like I'm something breakable." His expression shifted, becoming less guarded. "Because you were breakable," he said softly. "But you're also strong, and I don't want to be the one who pushes you too far." Naya's breath caught. "What if I want you close?" she whispered before she could stop herself. Adrian's eyes flickered. "Do you?" he asked quietly. She swallowed hard. "I don't know," she whispered. "But I don't want you far either." He moved a little closer, carefully. "Then we can start there." She let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. "You make me feel seen," she said softly. "And that scares me." His voice was velvet soft. "I'm scared too, Naya." Her eyes widened. "You? But you're human," he interrupted gently. "With wounds, with fears, with a heart that's learning how to trust again." Her pulse quickened. He leaned back against the bench, relaxing slightly. "You don't have to figure everything out today," he said. "For now, just stay with me, here, in this moment." She looked at him, then at the river, then back at him. And for the first time since her world fell apart, she felt steady. The sun warmed her skin. Adrian's presence warmed something deeper, something she hadn't let anyone reach in years. They stayed like that for a long time, wrapped in shared silence, shared grief, shared hope. To broken people, sitting side by side, learning the shape of each other's healing. Not lovers, not strangers, something in between, something delicate and new, something that felt dangerously close to unexpected love. For days after their riverside morning, Adrian and Naya fell into a quiet rhythm neither of them expected. Not a routine, not something planned, but a presence. Some nights Adrian called, never demanding, always checking in. Some mornings Naya texted a small update, a picture of the tea she was drinking, a quiet assurance that she had survived another night. There was no label for whatever connected them, but it felt like stitching to broken hearts with a single fragile thread. But fragile things break easily. That Thursday afternoon, Adrian insisted on driving Naya to visit her mother at the care home. Naya protested at first. "You don't have to do this," she said, but Adrian's soft, unwavering tone made her stop resisting. I want to, he said, and she believed him. At the care home. Grace, confused but smiling, held Adrian's hands like he was an angel sent directly for her daughter. Naya's chest warmed, painfully. For the first time in months, she felt hope. When they left the care home, Naya leaned against the passenger seat, eyes closed, letting the warmth of the moment linger. You look lighter today, Adrian murmured. Maybe I am, she whispered. He smiled softly. But the moment they stepped into the lobby of Adrian's penthouse building, everything shattered. Because they weren't alone. A woman stood near the elevators, tall, elegant, and furious. Adrian Cole, she snapped, heels clicking sharply as she approached. Naya instinctively stepped back. Adrian's jaw tightened. Elena, what are you doing here? Elena Rossi. His assistant. Naya had met her once. She was polite, sharp, efficient. Tonight, though, she wasn't any of those things. Are you out of your mind? Elena hissed, thrusting a folder into Adrian's chest. I warned you this was a problem. I told you you were slipping. And now this? She turned and looked at Naya with thinly veiled disgust. This is the girl? Naya froze. The girl. Not Naya. Not a person. Just the girl. Adrian's voice dropped dangerously. Elena, watch your tone. No, Elena snapped. Someone needs to say it. You've spent 10 days babysitting. A mental breakdown while your board prepares to strip you of decision-making power. Naya felt her heart twist. Sharply. Babysitting. A mental breakdown. The words weren't meant for her, but they sliced through her like a blade. Elena, Adrian warned again, eyes darkening. But Elena didn't stop. You are risking your company, your reputation, for someone you barely know. Someone who, that's enough. Adrian growled. He sounded like a man seconds away from losing control. But Naya barely heard him. Her ears were ringing. Barely. No. Babysitting. A distraction. A liability. Everything she had feared. Spoken aloud. Her breathing quickened. I should go, she whispered. Adrian turned instantly. Naya, no. Don't listen to her. She doesn't know what she knows what she sees. Naya whispered, stepping back. A broke, desperate girl who dragged you into her problems. Adrian moved toward her, hands raised gently. That's not true, isn't it? She choked. Tears blurred her vision. Your assistant seems to think I'm costing you your business. You're not, he said firmly. I don't care about the company right now. But you should, she whispered. You should care more about it than a stranger you met on a rooftop. His face twisted with pain. You're not a stranger. Naya, Elena scoffed behind them. Adrian, she is manipulating your guilt. Everyone sees it except you. Naya's breath hitched. A tremor ran through her hands. Manipulating? She whispered. Is that what you think I'm doing? Adrian stepped forward quickly. No, never. But it was too late. Humiliation. Shame. Worthlessness. They crashed over her in waves. She looked at Adrian, voice trembling. I shouldn't have let you get close to me. His eyes widened. Naya, this was a mistake, she whispered. I was too much, too broken, too needy, and you were trying to fix something you couldn't fix. Before, that's not what this is, he said desperately. Her eyes filled with tears that refused to fall. You said helping me made you feel like you were saving your sister this time. Her voice cracked. But I'm not her, Adrian, and you can't use me to rewrite your guilt. His expression shattered. Naya, don't do this, he whispered, reaching out. But she stepped back far enough his hand fell gently into empty space. I'm sorry, she said, voice hollow. I can't be your second chance. The elevator DINGED.NAYA turned to it like someone fleeing a fire. Adrian lunged forward. Naya, wait. But she stepped inside and hit the button. He caught the door just as it started to close, eyes pleading. Naya, please, he whispered. Don't walk away from me. Her heart cracked violently. But she whispered the only truth her pain allowed. You were never mine. to walk away from. The doors slid shut. Adrian stood frozen, breath shaking. Fingers still pressed against the cold metal. Elena spoke quietly behind him. "You're losing everything, Adrian. Even her." He didn't turn. He didn't speak. He simply whispered Naya's name soft, broken, aching. And in a tiny, suffocating apartment miles away, Naya curled into herself on the cold floor, believing she had destroyed the only good thing left in her life. Naya didn't remember the walk home. Her legs moved. Her body breathed. But her mind was somewhere else entirely. She burst into her apartment and shut the door with trembling hands. Adrian's coat still hung around her shoulders. She tore it off and dropped it onto the floor as if it burned her skin. Then she sank down beside it, pulling her knees to her chest. The silence swallowed her. Her chest rose and fell in small, sharp gasps. A distraction, manipulating his guilt. Barely know her. A mental breakdown. Elena's words looped again and again like poison echoes. And the worst part? A piece of her believed every one of them. Stupid, she whispered to herself. Stupid to think someone like him could ever care. She pressed her fist to her mouth, muffling a sob. She wasn't angry at Adrian. She was angry at herself, for hoping. For trusting, for imagining that the warmth between them meant something real. She curled tighter into herself. He deserves someone whole, she whispered. Not me. Her tears blurred the ceiling. After a long time, minutes, hours, she wasn't sure. Naya reached for her phone. She stared at the cracked screen. She should delete his number, erase the messages, cut the thread before it tied itself deeper around her heart. But her fingers wouldn't move. They hovered over the delete button and then dropped limply to her side. She wasn't ready to let go, and she hated herself for it. In the penthouse, Adrian stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, staring out at the city. He hadn't moved since returning upstairs. His reflection stared back at him, tired, broken, furious at himself. Elena stood a few feet behind him, her voice low and urgent. "You're unraveling, Adrian," she said. "This girl, her name is Naya," he snapped. Elena paused. "And she needs help," Adrian continued, voice trembling. "Not judgment, not cruelty. She needs professional care. Not you," Elena argued. "You're too emotionally involved. You're crossing lines. Your board is watching your every move." "I don't care about the board right now," Elena scoffed. "You should. You're risking your entire empire." He turned sharply. "I would burn every building I own if it meant saving one life." His voice cracked. Elena's expression softened reluctantly. "Adrian, you can't save everyone." "No," he whispered. "But I can try to save the one who's still alive." He grabbed his phone. "You're not going after her," Elena warned. He paused. "No," he said slowly. "I won't chase her." Elena blinked. "You won't?" Adrian lowered into a seat, running a hand through his hair. "If I chase her, she'll think everything Elena said was right. That I'm trying to fix her, control her, use her to ease my guilt." He exhaled shakily. "She needs space, a beat, and I need to prove I respect her enough to give it." Elena studied him quietly. "You care about her," she said. Softer now. He looked up, eyes hollow. "No," he whispered. "I'm falling for her." Elena's face shifted, surprise, regret, something unreadable. Adrian stood and walked toward his office. "Cancel my meetings for the next 2 days," he said. "Why?" "Because if she breaks again, she deserves to know someone is waiting." Elena opened her mouth to argue, but the look in his eyes stopped her. This wasn't about business. This wasn't obsession. This wasn't misplaced guilt. This was a man choosing vulnerability over power. For the first time in his life, that night, Naya lay on her mattress awake, staring into the darkness. The guilt, the humiliation, the heartbreak, all of it gnawed at her. But beneath all the pain lay something deeper, something quieter, something persistent. The memory of Adrian's voice. "Let me meet you in your world. You remind me I'm still human. I'm scared to." And the way his eyes looked when he said, "You're not a stranger." Naya, Her mouth trembled. Her heart was confused, broken, terrified, but not indifferent. She whispered into the dark, "What do I do now?" As if the universe had been waiting for the question. A soft knock echoed through her quiet apartment. Naya froze. Her breath stopped. Another knock. Gentle. Careful. Hopeful. Her pulse hammered against her ribs. Slowly, she rose and walked toward the door. Her fingers shook as she reached for the handle. She opened it, but no one stood there. Just a small brown envelope laying gently on the floor. Her heart pounded as she bent and picked it up. On the front, in Adrian's handwriting, were four words, "Only if you want." Inside the envelope was a single card. Not a business card, not a plea, just one simple message. "I'm here, not to fix you, not to save you, just to walk beside you. If you choose me." Naya pressed the card to her chest, tears spilling silently. He hadn't chased her. He hadn't begged. He hadn't demanded. He had chosen patience. Respect. Hope. Now the choice was hers. She stared at her phone. Again the cracked screen glowing faintly. After she plugged it in, this time, her fingers didn't hesitate. She typed, "Adrian, are you awake?" Her thumb hovered over send. Her heart thudded painfully. And then she pressed send. A message that could begin everything or end everything. The choice she made was reaching out. Adrian didn't sleep. He sat in the dim light of his penthouse office, phone beside him, eyes fixed on the city's skyline. Every few minutes, he would unlock his screen as if willing it to light up with her name. He had written the note 3 times before settling on the one message that didn't push, didn't guilt, didn't pressure, "Only if you want." Because real love was a choice, and he couldn't take that choice from her. He exhaled shakily, rubbing his temples. "If she doesn't call," he whispered to the empty room, "at least she'll be alive." He had just begun to close his eyes when his phone buzzed. Once. He froze. Then he grabbed it. One message. One line. "Adrian, are you awake?" His breath left him in a single broken exhale. He typed faster than he ever had in his life. "Yes, I'm here." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Reappeared. Then, "Can you come?" He didn't wait. Didn't think. Didn't breathe. 20 minutes later, he stood outside her door. The hallway was quiet, dimly lit by a flickering bulb overhead. His heart pounded so hard, he feared it might shatter. He raised his hand, then lowered it. What if she wasn't ready? What if seeing him hurt her more? Before he could decide, the door opened slowly. Naya stood there, wrapped in a thin sweater, hair loose, eyes swollen from crying. She looked fragile, yes, but there was something new in her expression. Something steady, something choosing. Their eyes met. Neither spoke. Then she whispered, "Come inside." He stepped in carefully, as if the floor might break if he breathed too deeply. The apartment was dark except for a small lamp beside the mattress. Adrian noticed immediately his coat was folded neatly on the floor. It stung, but it made sense. She sat down on the edge of the bed, fingers twisting nervously. Adrian remained standing, afraid to move wrong, afraid to push. "Naya," he began softly, "I'm sorry for what happened today." She shook her head. "You didn't do anything wrong. Elena shouldn't have spoken to you like that. She just said what I already believed about myself." Naya whispered. Adrian's chest tightened painfully. He moved closer, kneeling in front of her. "Look at me," he murmured. She hesitated, then lifted her eyes. Adrian swallowed hard. "You are not a burden," he said. "Not to your mother, not to this world, and definitely not to me." Her lips trembled. "I believed her," she whispered. "I believed everything she said. And the worst part is, the moment I heard those words, I felt like I didn't deserve you being there." Adrian's throat tightened. "You don't have to deserve anything," he said. "You're allowed to be cared for. You're allowed to be loved." The word hung between them. Love. Naya inhaled shakily. "I didn't call you because I was scared," she confessed. "But I messaged you because I was more scared of losing you." Adrian closed his eyes, overwhelmed. "You didn't lose me," he whispered. "You couldn't lose me even if you tried." Her breath caught. He opened his eyes again, soft, open, completely unguarded. Naya, he said gently, I can't replace what you've lost. I can't take away your pain, but I can walk beside you while you heal. Her voice broke. Why? Why me? Because when I look at you, he said quietly, I don't see someone broken. I see someone surviving against impossible odds. You're the strongest person I've met. Tears slipped down her cheeks. And because, he added, voice barely above a whisper, I'm in love with you. Naya gasped softly, her whole body stilled. Adrian's voice trembled, now raw. Honest, I didn't expect this, he admitted. I didn't plan it, but somewhere between pulling you off that rooftop and hearing you laugh by the river, I realized you weren't healing because of me. I was healing because of you. Her breath hitched. You don't have to love me back, he continued. Not tonight, not tomorrow, not ever, if you can't. I just needed you to know. Naya leaned forward suddenly, pressing her forehead to his breath caught. I'm falling for you too, she whispered. Adrian's heart stopped, then thudded heavy, alive, full. He reached up slowly, cupping her face with trembling hands. Are you sure? He asked quietly. Yes, she breathed. I'm scared. I'm hurting. I'm not okay yet, but I want you, and I want to try. He let out a soft, broken exhale, half relief, half disbelief. Then we'll try, he whispered. Naya nodded, tears streaming silently. Adrian brushed them away with his thumbs, gentle, reverent. Can I hold you? He asked softly. Naya didn't speak. She simply leaned into him. He wrapped his arms around her slowly, carefully, as if she were something precious. She melted into his chest, gripping the fabric of his shirt. Her sobs quiet, healing, safe. They held each other for a long time, until her breath steadied. Until his heartbeat calmed. Until the world outside disappeared. When she finally pulled back, she whispered, Adrian, yes? Stay. His eyes softened. Always. He lay beside her on the mattress, not touching it first, respecting every boundary. But she curled slowly toward him, resting her head on his shoulder. He let out a shaky breath and wrapped an arm around her. She closed her eyes. For the first time in a long time, she slept without fear. And Adrian, watching her breathe, whispered a silent promise to the dark. I'll choose you, every day, every moment, until you choose yourself to. A promise of love, a promise of healing, a promise of unexpected forever. The sunrise found them like that, to broken hearts, finally beating in the same rhythm, finally safe, finally home. If you were Naya, would you have opened the door or stayed alone? Comment your thoughts. Your answer might help someone else who feels the same way. If this story touched your heart, subscribe for more emotional billionaire love stories every week.